I hate Incredibles 2. I'm saying that right now. The thing about Incredibles 2 is that it is a complete disrespect of the first one. I might be personally biased here, but it is the worst Disney sequel. I don't care. It is the worst one. It doesn't really help the fact that Incredibles 1 is one of my favorite movies, and it is my favorite Disney movie. Pixar, Disney, they're kind of owned by the same company, but it's my favorite Disney movie in general. I love Incredibles 1, and it is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I feel like Incredibles 2 is just disrespectful to it in so many ways. I really don't like Incredibles 2. it's, First things first, the story outline is pretty much the same as the first one. But it's just executed worse. Like, what happens? Superheroes mess up, they destroy buildings, they become illegal. Family talks about it over dinner about how they shouldn't be whatever about their powers, etc., etc. They do whatever, they get employed to do secret hero work. Oh wow, it turns out the guy, I mean, it wasn't the guy, but it was the girl this time, but turns out, oh, the ones who hired them is the one who is the one who is the villain, who's etc., etc. It's like, okay, whatever. The story outline's the same, but just handled way worse. Which is fine. No, it's not fine. The thing about it too is that I feel like all the characters became kind of downgraded, useless. Character development got shattered, except for Ellen. And even Ellen was handled so disrespectfully as well, honestly. Now, keep in mind, I'm completely okay with Ellen being the main character. Honestly, when I first heard about it, Ellen being the main character, I was actually on board with it. I actually really liked Elastigirl's character in the first one, and I thought that they were gonna do this thing if they ever did do like a trilogy or something, that oh yeah, Elastigirl is the second one and then the kids are the third one, etc., etc., which is fine for me. But the thing I didn't like about it was that all the other characters besides Miss Incredible was pretty much useless. The thing about the first one that was really good was that everyone got to shine. You got to see them as a family. Everyone got to shine. And I know they did that in the end. But I still feel like Mrs. Incredible in the end was the one who just kind of carried everybody, which didn't make sense to me because Mr. Incredible was the number one hero at the time. He's an experienced veteran hero, but they have him being this weirdly clumsy. And I know they've shown him doing other things, but he snuck into Syndrome's lab. And if it wasn't for that sensor going off, then he would have successfully gone out. So to say that Mr. Incredible is this clumsy hero that's not a veteran like Mrs. Incredible is kind of dumb, honestly. I do not like it. It's just the disrespect they gave to Mr. Incredible sucks, because in the first one, everyone got to shine. Mrs. Incredible, flew a jet. She she snuck into Syndrome's building as well, but in a more sneaky way. She helped immensely in the final fight. She did so much stuff that just made her so iconic and so great. And Mr. Incredible, he showed off his strengths. He snuck into the building as well, showing that he's also a veteran hero. He beat one of Syndrome's versions of the machine using his wits. It shows that he's not just a brute, and it really is just something that I do not like. And the kids too got to shine during the chase scene as well. Dash running on water, Violet discovering her new self and her being more confident in her powers. Everything was just so much better, and they tackled so many great topics in the first one that I feel like the second one just utterly crapped on all those topics because they pretty much retconned all the character development that these characters had in that first movie. Violet is back to being this weird, shy, angsty teenager, even though in the first one, she was more confident and all that. Mr. Incredible is back to being that neglectful father, back to going through that midlife crisis, even though in the first one, he said he was going to be better, etc., etc., etc. But bam, he's back to being midlife crisis. I don't know why they decided to go this route. I understand it, that they don't want Mr. Incredible to be the main protagonist. But the thing is, in the first movie, yeah, he was the main protagonist, but the whole family got to shine. It wasn't just him. But in the second one, it feels like everyone didn't get to shine besides Mrs. Incredible. Mrs. Incredible is the only one that got to shine, and even then, she kind of acted stupid. She ignored blatant evidence, even though in the first one, she's clearly been shown to be extra wary and smart when it comes to these things. So I don't understand why they decided to. They had over a decade. They had over a decade to come up with a good plot, but instead they decided to tell a worse version of the first movie. And finally, the villain sucks. I'm saying that right now. Screenslaver, bad. Bad motivations. I'm saying that right now. It's just bad. Oh, the motivation's stupid. They even say in the movie that the motivation's stupid. At least they're aware of it. But I don't know. I guess it's really hard to compare her to Syndrome because Syndrome is such a great, memorable villain that, you know, it's very hard to go back to that. But you could have at least made something close, but instead you made someone completely boring and stuff. This whole movie is just such a big mess, and I do not like this movie at all, and it really frustrates me as someone who is an Incredibles fan. You can see, as I age up, I can keep watching The Incredibles and keep taking away something from it. I can always watch Incredibles and find out more things about it, like I do with The Last Airbender, where the more I watch it and the older I get, the more I come to appreciate it. And I feel like I can't say that with the second one, and that wasn't even what I was trying to do. I just wanted a second one that paid respect to the first one and continued it off. I would have been fine with a time skip. I would have been fine if they didn't continue on, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, they just rehashed it and made the characters worse. This movie frustrated the heck out of me. Like, don't get me wrong, plus sides, the animation was beautiful. Like, beautiful animation, obviously. There's really nothing else. Yeah, the final fight scene was honestly not as good as the first one as well. Because, again, like, it was fun to see the family collab. It's always fun to see the family collab. But the first movie had a lot more of that, and while the second movie did not have that. At the end of the day, I do not like this movie because, one, all the characters were useless besides Mrs. Incredible. They disrespected all the character development that all the characters had in the first movie and disrespected the characters in general. The villain motivation sucked. They suck compared to Syndrome. Also, in this movie, there wasn't really that many stakes, honestly. In the first movie, people freaking died. Like, these heroes were dead. They died. But then in this one, you got these, like, rehashed, like, weird... people don't care about them heroes. Like, I do not remember a single one of their names. I do not. At least when I finished watching the first one, I literally went back and looked at the deleted scenes where I could find out more about the heroes because I was actually interested in. I learned more about heroes. Oh, okay, here's the thing. I learned more about heroes from Edna's no cape scene than I did those heroes from the second movie. I do not remember a single one from that second movie, but I do remember all the heroes that Edna mentioned because of the no capes. Those heroes were more memorable than those heroes were. Alright? Heroes that were just one-off mentions in a story that Edna told is more memorable than heroes that I was introduced to for like half the movie. Yeah, so this movie is just a mess. I don't like the movie. I think it's the worst Disney sequel. Have a good day. But yeah, once again, be sure to leave me comments in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions about the scene, about this movie, and as well. Because do you hate it as much as I do? Am I being too harsh on it? You can decide that for yourselves, but I don't think my opinion's ever gonna change about this movie. All right, peace.